This video is going to be about mounting scope rings. I've got these Nightforce 30mm standard duty. These are the high ones, 1 1/4 inch. Cool thing about the Nightforce, I do have a Nightforce scope. The Nightforce gives you specs on torque, cross bolt. So this bolt that goes on the rail, they want 68 inch-pounds, and cap screws they want 25 inch-pounds. I had a dirt bike, used to have a dirt bike. None of my friends would go riding with me. Woo! Anyways, I ended up selling the dirt bike, but I did have this torque wrench that I had. This is a 1/4 inch drive torque wrench, and it's perfect for these small screws. You can get these torque wrench sets. I think Fix-It Sticks has become very popular, but I found that their products are very expensive. Unfortunately, I did buy this from Amazon a couple years ago, and I think Harbor Freight has these, and you can get them from Home Depot. Probably won't be as cheap as this one. I'm trying to avoid purchases from Amazon. I have been for a while, but anyways, it'll help to have some sort of torque wrench. Again, you can get the Fix-It Sticks, or many of the hardware stores will carry them. You don't have to run out to Amazon. There are a couple of things you'll need depending on the screw size. So I found that a 1/4 inch drive with this 1/4 inch socket works with the Nightforce. Has the torque style a top screw, and then for the crossbar it's going to be a 1/2 inch, again a 1/4 inch drive. It's important with the torque wrench not to use the torque wrench to tighten the actual bolts or screws, so you'll tighten them down with something else, and then you'll finish just the torquing with the torque wrench, and that'll make your torque wrench last longer. A couple other tools for doing this job: you're going to need some sort of levels. So I went to Home Depot. I did find some of the level kits for scope mounting on different websites, and obviously Amazon has some. And I've been trying to do more purchases at Home Depot, my local hardware store. Used to have a Lowe's, but they went out of business. So anyways, I got 2 different types. I got this bullseye type, and I'm hoping that this fits on the turret cap of the scope. And then this is an Empire brand, made in USA, but it's magnetic. One thing that's kind of stupid is they put the label on the magnet side. But anyways, these are like $4 at Home Depot. I think this was like $1 something. So they had a couple different styles at Home Depot, but I wanted magnetic. Obviously the frame of my current rifle I'm working on is aluminum, so not too much magnetism there, but it will work on the barrel. And it also is just a flat surface, so you could set it on the rail. The Mrad is a tapered rail, so you're really not going to be able to get much leveling of the scope rings other than getting the reticle. So the reticle of the scope, you're going to want to make sure that that's lined up and level as much as possible. Otherwise that could throw things off significantly. So that's primarily what I'm going to be using it for. Now the next step is some videos out there, they will actually I don't want to call it tamping, but they will pretty much, I think it's tamp. They will sand out basically the inside of these scope rings. I personally don't think that's completely necessary. I mean, if you have a competition set up for extreme long range and you need maximum accuracy with your setup, yeah, I mean, you may consider doing that. There isn't really a lot of adjustment on these. They're single point, so it's just going to come down to the how well your rail was manufactured. And the Mrad has monolithic or one-piece rail, so it should be inherently lined up as well as possible, versus if you had a break in the receiver to the rail. But you're supposed to clean these really well, degrease them. So they say clean inside surface of rings thoroughly before mounting. Do not alter this product in any way. Again, these are made in the USA too. So I'm going to clean these out with rubbing alcohol. You can use acetone or just like a firearm degreaser. Just make sure to get all that stuff off. Alcohol is good because it will dissipate. And you'll want to hit the screws as well. You don't want any lubricant on those. You don't want them coming apart. So just clean them up really well inside. They are pretty clean from the factory, at least these ones are. This is the scope that I decided to get. This is the Nightforce SHV. The one I have is 4x by 14x by 50, and this is the first focal plane. So I'm new to distance shooting. Primarily use irons, or I have some other optics, but 3.5x is the most I've had. So I wanted something that was easy to get into, and I spent a lot of time looking at the different styles, and I wanted something that I could grow into and also shoot at distance. Again, I'm looking at 500 or 600 yards, or maybe up to 800 is my maximum. My limitation being 308 is the round that I'm starting with on my long range. But I wanted first focal plane, because what that means is the reticle is going to be constant throughout the entire magnification range, versus if you do second focal plane, the reticle will be at the correct size only at the maximum magnification. So for me, I if I was going to be shooting 4, I didn't want to have to make an adjustment for the reticle at different magnifications if I had to hold over or use the reticle to correct for whatever aspect I was dealing with. The Nightforce have a great reputation, especially their higher end lines. The ATAC-R. This SHV I think was a good trade-off for the price, because the glass is, I've already looked through it, is absolutely phenomenal. And from what I've read, that it's a little bit less ruggedized than the higher line, but it uses the higher line glass. So you could do your research, but that's what I decided. Also, this is illuminated, so made in Japan. I will take that all day over made in China. The Japanese have an excellent reputation nowadays. Really, really beautifully manufactured. A couple different things, drawbacks. Some people said the clicks were not as tactile as they wanted them to be. The illumination is here. There's also a focus, and then your magnification is here. And there's a screw here. I think you can install a little handle to do that. This is the MOAR reticle I got. They have a couple different reticles, but that's what I decided to go with. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you got the right size scope rings. Again, I went with Nightforce. These are the steel ones, so well, did one thing right. I got the correct diameter scope ring. So again, with the SHV, this style one is a 30 millimeter, and there will be some adjustment here for eye relief. So once you get your rings on, you leave them a little bit loose, and then you can kind of walk them in and out a little bit to make sure that you have the best sight picture for your pull, or how far you are from the scope in your natural shooting position. So this is the battery compartment. This is the screw cap. It just comes off counterclockwise. They give you a battery from the factory, and then you just screw that down. Really nice threading here. The other cool feature here is that it turns off in between clicks. So I'm trying to show you the illumination. It's just a little red chevron in the middle, and that's at the brightest setting on the camera. And then you just click it, half a click, it turns off, another half a click, and it's back on. So last couple steps here. Get your rifle level. Use this bullseye level on top. Again, these are both available at Home Depot. This is just for a diagram, but hang the string with a weight on the bottom to line up the reticle. I'll get some more distance here and finish that up. And then the last thing is, when you are tightening your scope actual screws, make sure to try to keep this distance on both sides equal as you're tightening it down, and you can achieve that by only doing a few turns at a time. Check at all your lowest and your highest magnification level, and then lastly, don't forget to torque down your screws. Make sure you leave your scope mounts in a position where you'll have some adjustment on each side, so that way you can slide it back and forth while sitting behind the rifle at your normal shooting position to get the correct eye relief. So what you want to do is push it all the way forward till it starts to gray out a little bit around the edges, and then bring it back to where it's perfect. Keep moving it back and forth. Make sure you find that point, and you'll know when you've gone too far because it'll be hard to see and you'll get graying or loss of view on the sides. So keep getting it. You may have to adjust it again later as you modify your position, but those are the basics. If you guys have questions, let me know. Again, you can get this bullseye, you can get this magnetic level. Both levels are at Home Depot. The Mrad also has a flat point here on the barrel, but you'll find that the level is slightly different from the barrel to upper part of the receiver. And for those people that have a question, so this barely clears at 1¼ inch high Nightforce scope rings, scope mounts. So you're going to need that, otherwise you're going to be too low if you get the 1 inch. So make sure it's at least 1¼ inches on the Mrad. If you're going with a 50, if you have a 56, you'll need an even higher. The other thing with the Mrad, I talked about this in the earlier video, there's the taper on the rail, so that will affect your ability to level things out. I wouldn't worry about that too much. That actually helps down the road with having a greater adjustment when you zero, and for those people who have extreme long range. Anyways, that's a little tutorial on the Mrad here. It's a little janky. You can see I'm using some paper to level that side. Make sure everything is level, that's important. And then to get your reticle lined up, you'll need something similar to this, but you'll probably want to do it at about at least 15 yards or the furthest distance you can get, so that way it'll line up and it'll be visible.